he said something that I think people mistake about Yahtzee, is that he said, I really love games and I love the industry. Because I think when people watch Zero Punctuation in the same way that they used to do with, like, Sterling, you know, they have this impression that these people hate games. And it's like, no, they're critical of games because they love the medium.
Well, you would have to get back into MMOs in general, Nathan.
Yeah, I have trouble with them. I've thought about EVE at some point, like maybe tooling around in that, but I don't know. It's free. It is free.
I've been playing a bit of EVE lately, just because I can. I'm wondering if you could help the trade caravan fight off the bandits, and then be like, cool, we helped you out, now you give us some money. Or we'll attack you ourselves.
I got news for you, Alex, is that any trade caravans you come across, you can actually choose to attack them.
Oh.
So, Alex, how much snow did you get up there?
Not nearly enough for people to be happy, and too much for me to want it.
Do you have enough that you can make a very small snowman?
My friend did make a very small snowman. It was tiny.
Oh, that's fun. A little Keebler elf snowman. Put it in the tree.
Something like that.
Oh.
Not in a tree. That would... if you have a tree already, we have questions.
Yes. Anyway, so from all of the small snowmen that are out there, welcome to Total Pebble Knockdown. I am Nathan.
And I am Alex.
And boy, we've got a snowball's worth of content for you. It's Total Snowball Knockdown. So first up on the show, we have a little bit of business news. Not necessarily great news, but something that we kind of have to talk. Maybe it's...
It's bad news mixed with good news. Anyways, as much as I don't care about news a lot of the time, when I saw this breaking, I was like, ooh, must share with Nathan, because I know he's going to want to talk about it once he sees it, and so we're doing that, because I also want to talk about it.
So let's start with Nick Calandro, because this is really where the story starts, who is now the former editor-in-chief of The Escapist. And he announced on November 6th that he was fired from The Escapist, and he declined his severance pay and will not be signing an NDA. And he said, I'm incredibly proud of everything my team and I achieved over the last 4 years and the community that we built together, figuring out next steps now and moving forward. That was on November 6th.
For anyone who is not familiar with The Escapist is, they do gaming, journalism, gaming news, formerly did videos.
Yes.
We're going to leave that formerly in there. There are still people at The Escapist who do articles, and Nick and the team have said, don't be mad at The Escapist. They're not the ones who did it, so don't do that. But anyways, The Escapist fired their editor-in-chief for reasons that were not clearly defined to Nick for goals that he didn't meet.
Right. My understanding from what Nick was saying is that there were unrealistic goals that were basically being set upon him.
Right.
And after pushing back on that and saying these are unrealistic goals for me to meet, they were like, okay, well then, bye. Goodbye now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Nick got fired, and that started a, I don't know, I think you said you watched the live thing they did?
Yes.
Where it basically, that didn't sit well with anybody on his team. And what followed suit were mass resignations from everybody on the Escapist video team.
That's right. And I think the most notable ones there would be like Jack Packard and, of course, Yahtzee Croshaw.
Yes, which is why when I saw that, I was like, oh, Nathan's going to want to see this.
That's
Yahtzee, for anyone who knows what he does, it's Zero Punctuation, or formerly did Zero Punctuation.
Right.
He's been doing that show for 16 years.
Yes, there's a lot of people that are prominent YouTubers now that are even in the gamer space that grew up watching him do his game reviews. It's been very influential in the space.
Yes.
For a long
the
time.
phrase PC Master Race was actually coined by Yahtzee.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
very important to understand the weight of that particular show. The Escapist does a lot more besides that, but Zero Punctuation has continued to be basically their biggest property that they've done under there,
right.
if you just look at view counts and reach alone. Yahtzee's left. I had also mentioned Jack Packard just because Jack had done a lot of stuff with Yahtzee and does a lot of other media stuff, so people are familiar with him. He went as well. So
yeah, we have a whole list.
We've got Frost and Jesse and Will Cruz and Darren Mooney. Yeah, the list is very long. The list is very long.
I think if you can on screen edit, somehow put that in there.
I'll throw it up.
You might have to chop it up to make it not so small because it's a very long list.
There'll be a scroll going across at the bottom of the screen right now, so people can see. There you go. Yeah.
But yeah, so Nick got fired and took with him the Escapist entire video team. So their 1.2 million, strong subscriber YouTube channel for the Escapist, unless the parent company hires a new team for it, nothing.
Right.
They're not going to have anything. They said they might have 2 more videos if they go out. That was a Zero Punctuation and another video that were slated to go out.
Yes.
But aside from that, the 1.2 million subscriber YouTube channel dead.
Right. And there's been a lot of coverage about this. The coverage, at least that has been done, has basically been calling this Escapist shooting itself in the foot. Not even Escapist
at this point, because they didn't do it. It was
Gamers, which is the parent company.
Who owns them. They also own Destructoid and a bunch of other things I've never heard of.
Right.
I looked into it a little bit. I was curious. I was trying to see if I could find their stock price to see how much that just fell, but it's private, so I could not. Anyways, so yeah, the Escapist crew is no longer at the Escapist, aside from the article writers and stuff. But through something terrible, as in this guy getting fired and taking the whole crew with him, they found something new to do.
That's right, they did. And just a couple days ago, I want to say, they did a live stream announcing their new venture, a YouTube channel, and going to be a Patreon, a Discord, I guess, which is Second Wind. Second Wind. And so it sounds like the content's going to be very similar.
Yep.
Yahtzee's been talking about an animated show similar to probably.
And then Design Delve will still be there because he owns the property that Yahtzee has to do something different because he does not own the IP for Zero Punctuation.
That's right.
I've actually got a small tweet thread up from Yahtzee right now I wanted to read. Zero Punctuation is the big thing. Everything else is great too, but Yahtzee was really it's kind of important. So he has a new thing, and I don't know if you heard what he was going to call it.
Oh, it's Fully Ramblematic.
Yeah, so the name of his longtime blog has been Fully Ramblematic, and so his new show is Fully Ramblematic. Perfect. And the tweet says, Fully Ramblematic and all Second Wind's content will of course be 100% independently owned and funded, so any support you can offer through the Patreon will go a long way. The response to that, it's already been mind-blowing. They already have over 2,000 patrons, and their YouTube channel that is brand new, and as I said during the stream, that they would probably be monetized right after the stream as long as they went for at least an hour, because there were about 4,000 people viewing.
5, I think, and they were already at 100,000 subscribers. They put out a tweet about that. I checked it earlier, and it's about at 128 now.
Right, which for a brand new YouTube channel
with no real content right now, by the way.
Yeah, with one video is ridiculous. They have a second channel for live streams too. Anyways, second tweet. This one's a little bit more interesting. It's Yahtzee says, there was a moment earlier this week when I was looking at old ZPs and thinking, that's it, 16 years of my life gone. But the response to Second Wind has made me see it differently. Maybe those 16 years were actually an investment. an audience and a community. That's now paying off with this response. I promise to keep the sweary, knob gag filled vitriol going for as long as the market demands.
There's going to be a demand for that for a while anyway. So.
Yep. He's excited he can swear again because they're going to be all independently funded.
Yes.
They don't have to worry about YouTube monetization as much, which is amazing. I mean, they're still going to be monetized, but like the outpouring of support from everybody has been so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube in days.
Mm-hmm.
Patreon of like 3,000 people and going, plus other donations. They already have sponsors wanting to work with them.
Yeah.
You know, it's just holy shit.
Yeah, it's a fledgling company that is already, I think, from the gravitas of the people that are inside of it, there's a lot of people that are excited to jump on a new venture with all of the people that are in Second Wind.
And that's the big thing too. It's you don't see this happen that much, I don't think.
No.
In a lot of places. But the fact that Nick was so beloved by his crew that did videos with him, that every single one of them in solidarity just kind of went, hey, you know what?
We're leaving.
Fuck this place.
Yep.
We're leaving. We're going to follow Nick. We don't have a plan. We're going to follow him. And I think that's paying off right now.
Yeah.
It's like they are no longer beholden to a company that does not care. I know they were saying during the live stream that like being able to self-promote their own stuff, Yahtzee has a game and his books, and they were clamping down on him for doing that. He's like, nah, I can shill this stuff all we want now. Yeah. It's our stuff. We can talk about it. We own it. So it's really awesome to see that.
Yeah.
Like, they should be allowed to, obviously.
Yeah. No, they're sort of unleashed now. They can do whatever they want with their content.
Oh no.
That's
Yahtzee
probably
unleashed.
That's kind of scary thinking about that. But hey, you know what? It's how he got where he is today, so, you know, I can't see it being bad for him. What I'm wondering, though, here's my prediction for you. Do you think and at what point do you think Second Wind will become a bigger asset than Escapist now that they've...
in what metric?
In terms of channel strength, in terms of revenue...
I don't honestly know because, well, if we're talking about the Escapist YouTube channel, it'll be when it hits over 1.2 million subs. Given that the Escapist YouTube channel is probably dead in the water, it doesn't take much. They're still going to get residual views from people watching old videos, I'm sure. If you're talking about the Escapist website and the magazine, essentially, I don't know any metrics for how much traffic the website gets.
Right, and they're not really going to be competing in that space because they said they didn't want to do a website, so...
Yeah. They have said that Darren is going to be doing an article for the $10 a month patrons.
Oh, okay.
Because he loves doing it, and he was, I guess, one of the best people that was on the Escapist for that stuff. So they're like, yeah, he still wants to do this, so...
So we'll do it for the patrons specifically. Well, that's good. That's good. Maybe that's not a great metric, because, yeah, usually once channels start to get a lot of traction, they don't lose a lot of subscribers. I am wondering about, like, view time is going to be taken a lot away from Escapist. There's not new content. Those videos used to get hundreds of thousands of views. And
yeah, especially Zero Punctuation, 500,000 views on those videos.
Specifically.
Which you don't see all that often for game reviews.
No.
Not unless they're in-depth game reviews. And Yahtzee was known for doing like short game reviews.
Right. The idea for people that don't know about Zero Punctuation was that the reviews are incredibly fast, to the point where he barely stops talking at all, or even puts a period at the end of sentences. It just kind of all flows.
Zero Punctuation, that's the name.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he'll continue doing that. Hence, fully emblematic. He does ramble. He does make silly jokes. He's curses. He tells you his honest opinion for the most part. I don't know what's going to be different about Fully Emblematic, because I know that his Zero Punctuation was always a subversive review.
Yes. Yeah. It's a critique more than a review. Because he's a game critic. Yeah, but it's interesting because when I was watching the live stream, he said something that I think people mistake about Yahtzee, is that he said, I really love games and I love the industry. Because I think when people watch Zero Punctuation in the same way that they used to do with, like, Sterling, you know, they have this impression that these people hate games. And it's like, no, they're critical of games because they love the medium, you know? Yep. And so it's important to understand that, and they'll be more than happy to come out and specifically state that, sure, we hate games, except for, let me give you a laundry list of all the games we love. Yeah. So hopefully, with that kind of a passion, especially with people that really love the medium, I'm really thinking Second Wind is going to be a good takeoff point. They're already very strong out of the gate.
There's a lot to still really unpack here that we're probably not going to get into.
No.
They have a Discord. If you want to join that, I'm sure right now it's mostly just announcements and whatnot, which is fine. They're trying to get all their stuff rolling. Everything's going to be free at the gate for videos, but if you want to support them, then do that. I'm sure they'd be very grateful, and I just think it's insane. This week, just suddenly it was hey, fired, took the whole crew of the Escapist video team with me. Every single person that was on that team resigned. Or was fired.
Yeah.
So
it's a kind of a big deal, especially for Escapist. Side note, right here at the end, though, a few days after that happened, we got word that Gizmodo was laying off 23 members of essentially their editorial teams for all of their magazines, which is over Gizmodo, Deadspin, Kotaku, Onion, and they shut down Jezebel altogether. And so they had put out a statement about that. I'm pretty sure that those writers are going to find new jobs, but it's I don't know. Games media is a little shaky right now when it comes to...
Yeah, I was thinking that. Good thing we don't do any kind of important games media.
Yeah, and if we did, I guess we'd be independent. We don't really work for a company, and I guess it's probably good that we don't.
Yeah.
Our
that
job would be tentative.
Hey, if you want to buy TPK, no.
We're
worth nothing.
Listen, so I am going to request at least $10 and a bag of Skittles if you want to buy TPK, okay? It's gotta be Skittles. Can't be the off-brand stuff. I need the real premium stuff. Let us know what you're thinking about Second Wind, what you'd like to see from that channel, what you're thinking about these shakeups in games media, and what do you think?
Hey, if you're from Second Wind and you want to come and talk to us on the show, let us know.
If you want to slum it down here, that's perfectly fine. We're more than happy to talk to you. Yeah. We're happy to understand exactly what's going on. We always like to have a better idea. But, let us know in the comments down below, and tell us if you have any additional information or other stories that we might have missed in this genre that you'd like us to cover. I hear that in this very snowy weather, a blizzard has rollen in.
That's where you're going with that. Okay.
Yep.
So, BlizzCon just happened, and I know you're not huge on keeping up with the stuff Blizzard does, and a lot of people don't care. But that's fine. That's fine. BlizzCon happens, and we got announcements for things such as Diablo, and maybe StarCraft. I don't know. I didn't watch all of it. Let's be real. I did not watch all of it. I was mainly there for the Warcraft stuff.
I have heard that you frequent the World of Warcraft.
We've got a new expansion coming out next year. Because they have their cycle actually has been every 2 years this new expansion. Sure. I did not realize it was that frequent.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back at how many expansions there are, that should make sense, but I never did the math.
Okay.
So currently, from stuff I've listened to and whatnot, they're pretty much done with all the content they had backlogged up from all the RTS games. Anything they could pull from the RTS games, they're done with it. There's nothing that is left to pull from Warcraft 1, 2, 3, the Frozen Throne, and whatnot.
Sure. Okay.
So they're now in a spot where they're doing completely new stories. what was unprecedented was they announced their new expansion. They didn't just say, hey, our next expansion is this one game. They went, hey, our new expansion is actually going to be a thing called the World Soul Saga. It says, what does it say? World of Warcraft World Soul Saga, a brand new adventure 20 years in the making, because WoW is turning 20 next year.
Nice.
And what this is a set of 3 expansions to cover one storyline.
Okay. 3 expansions for one storyline.
Yes. And so this is interesting because they've never done that. Every expansion they have done so far has been its own kind of self-contained story. They might build off of and touch and play a little bit with the other ones, but most of the time it has been like Burning Crusade. You played during that.
Yes.
We're going to Outland. We're fighting the Burning Legion. And after Burning Crusade was done, they went for Wrath of the Lich King. We're going to Northrend. We're fighting the Lich King. Yep. Separate stories, separate enemies. Nothing really interplayed between the two. We went back and fought the Burning Crusade again in Legion.
Sure.
Years later. But it wasn't like the same story. It was just like, oh, they came back. This is a story that builds off of a different one. In this case, the World Soul Saga, we're starting with the War Within, which is going to be like underground, subterranean stuff.
Okay.
Then we go to Midnight, World of Warcraft Midnight, which seems to be void-based. There's been a lot of that going on because old gods and stuff. There has been a lot of that recently in WoW. But also, what they're doing with Midnight is a revamp of Kal Thalas, which is the starting zone for the Blood Elves. Silvermoon City and stuff. It was basically destroyed, and the Sunwell, I think, was corrupted. And
As they do.
Yeah. So they're doing a revamp of that, which came out during Burning Crusade.
Okay.
And so that one's interesting. And the last one is World of Warcraft: The Last Titan. And allegedly, we're going back to Northrend.
Okay.
So...
Okay.
We don't know the story itself. I know the cinematic trailer was kind of emotional and interesting, and it plays off the end of Legion, where the Titan had stabbed the sword into Azeroth, and kind of, it's been there since Legion, just a giant sword sticking out of the ground. And so in the cinematic, they're looking at it, and he's like, Thrall's like, who are we getting these? They're getting visions from Azeroth or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, what the heck? We don't know what's going on. And Thrall's kind of like, I don't know, but you know what I do know is that sword was aimed at something. And so with a name of the World Soul Saga and a lot of stuff that's been going on in this current story, dealing with the Titans and Azeroth's soul, essentially, because it's, a living entity kind of deal. It's really interesting to me that they're doing a 3 arc trilogy for this, because they haven't done it before, and I'm thinking it will give the story a lot more time to be told. And the cycle they do these in the 2 years, they kind of push the story to a breakneck pace for a lot of it, and don't space it out quite enough, where, especially if you're coming into it, you go, hey, I just started, I'm doing the story for the first time, and this has been out for a year already, and then the story goes, cool. Oh, you hit the max level? Yeah, everything that's been going on in the last year is now open to you. It doesn't matter the sequence that these came out in. Everything is now on the table for you, and we're not going to tell you which one of these came first.
Yeah, I think you've mentioned that before, and I started to kind of get a little trepidatious about ever going back to World of Warcraft because of just the immensity of how many different things there are and getting lost in the different storylines. Is this really going to fix it? I guess that's the thing I'm wondering. Like, if I came in and they had just started this story, is it going to be something like that is kind of self-contained as like a 3-story arc?
I'm hoping it'll be enough there for a 3-story arc, especially with them doing it in this fashion, that I'm hoping you won't get lost. Like, not you personally, but I'm hoping that anyone coming into the game for this and like not having a lot of backstory to it, I'm hoping that it will be, hey, here's what's going on, here's what we're gonna do, and like tell the story through and not assume you know all of the 20 years of information behind it.
Sure.
Because that's even like Crave has said, because she plays a bit with me, and she said the issue I have is that they assume I know all these characters and places, and I have no idea who anyone is.
Since you have a 20-year history here of the game itself, that's one thing, but then of course the history of the world itself that they've built, which is much larger and longer, it's a lot to take in, especially for new players that might be getting into it.
I feel like that's the biggest issue WoW has in general, is that the game is fun. The gameplay is decent. They've made it's more fun than I think it's ever been. They've been working class overworks for this expansion. The flying overhaul has been great. How the game feels to play is great. I think they need to work on the pacing and the way they tell the stories, because they do tell interesting stories. But I think that the demand of an MMO being a live service game and needing to push out constant updates makes it so that the way they tell the stories isn't always ideal for cohesion.
Right.
That being said, I'm excited. I've never seen them do a 3-arc story this way.
Are they trying to jump on the whole trilogy thing of like getting out 3 pieces?
I think what they're trying to do is put all the cards on the table. They have a new creative director for WoW, Chris Metzen, if you're familiar with the name.
Not really.
So he is the iconic voice of Thrall. He was the voice of Varian Wren. Varian died. I think he was maybe Uther, who also died in Legion.
He'll come back. He'll come back.
So they killed off or downplayed a bunch of the characters he voiced because he had left Blizzard back in like 2016. He was burnt out. He was doing stuff for WoW, StarCraft, maybe StarCraft, WoW, Overwatch, and Diablo at least, and he was burnt out. So he quit. He is now back in the sole position of like lead of World of Warcraft. He is just in charge, the creative director, I believe.
Okay.
And so, like, he was originally one of the people that was on the Warcraft team at the core.
Sure.
Forever ago. And so, with him back, like, at the helm, we're hoping, the community is hoping at large that WoW will just feel better. 'Cause since he's left, it's kind of, people have been like, yeah, WoW kind of lost some of that bite.
Sure.
Excuse me. Like, the stories have been interesting, but haven't really had any teeth to them. It hasn't really felt Warcrafty. And so people are hoping that with him back, it'll make things feel a lot more Warcraft than it has in a while.
Sure. Okay.
So we're going to see how that goes. Chris in charge and bringing the team with him, and like this announcement is kind of them going, these are the cards we're putting on the table and what we want to do, and hopefully it does well, because it's really cool. I think it's really cool to see like a 3-part story like that, because it goes, here's what we're doing and what you can expect out of it.
Sure.
Like, we're not going to give you all the details, but like, here's what you can expect and where this is going.
Yeah. That's good.
And then, but yeah, they're making, I think, a lot of positive changes. They're bringing the dynamic flying, which is the dragon riding stuff.
You like that a lot.
It's really fun, actually. It's really nice just zooming around. They're bringing that to the rest of the world.
Good. Good.
They've already started it. You had a couple of races that you could do over in Kalimdor in the Eastern Kingdoms for Dragon Cup riding, for races essentially, which let you do that. But they're bringing it to the wider World of Warcraft, and I think that's probably one of the reasons they're going to revamp Pelthalos. It's because those zones you can't fly in. I know, I'm excited. I didn't really pay attention to much news for Diablo or StarCraft or Overwatch, because...
Well, Overwatch, that's not really our thing. I played some of the original Overwatch, and mostly just to realize that this really isn't my kind of game. That's, StarCraft, I love it, but I haven't played it since the original, so... Yeah,
and I haven't played it since Wings of Liberty.
Yeah, I didn't even play StarCraft 2, so I don't know. I was actually, I think, since they kind of shelved StarCraft Ghost, I was like, oh, they don't really... They're not really supporting the project, the world building.
To be a small tangent for StarCraft, the StarCraft 2 story was great. I didn't play all three of them because I sold it as hey, this is three different games,
which is stupid.
I have to buy instead of doing the 3 campaigns like the original one. So I was kind of like, it was good, but it wasn't good enough to make me want to buy it 3 times.
Yeah, that I thought was a little suspect.
The issue I had for StarCraft was that if you played StarCraft 2, like the campaign was fine, but it really just felt like an extended tutorial through it.
Yeah.
So it was like, each mission we're going to introduce something new to it, and then you're going to know how all these units work. Oh, good, now you know how to play the game. Multiplayer.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I don't play StarCraft multiplayer because that's not fun. That's not fun at all.
You know what I never understood, and I know that there's always been rumblings about it, but I am kind of surprised that Blizzard didn't think, hey, what about if we did like World of Warcraft but with StarCraft? Did like Sea of StarCraft or something like that.
I mean, that's what Warcraft 3 was.
Yeah.
So I mean, they already did that.
No, I mean, like, do World of Warcraft, but do StarCraft as World of Warcraft.
Oh, you mean a StarCraft MMO?
MMO, in the same kind of vein, where you could be either the Terrans, or the Zerg, or the Protoss, and you could explore whatever planet they were on, or whatever planet they were trying to...
I feel like that'd be hard. Maybe? I don't know. It'd be weird. Sci-fi MMOs don't always do the best.
I just like I like the idea that eventually you would have Terrans and you could still get like little Zerg pets, like little Zerglets instead of Zerglings. You get the little team. They would end up doing it. I swear to God, if they ever tried. But it would be a really good property, especially if they wanted to start something new. Because I would very much like to play a StarCraft MMO. Actually,
well, you would have to get back into MMOs in general, Nathan.
Yeah, I have trouble with them. I've thought about EVE at some point, like maybe tooling around in that, but I don't know.
It's free.
It is free.
I've been playing a bit of EVE lately, just because I can.
Yeah. Is it good? I thought it looked too complex for me to really jet
It's complex. Good is a strange word to ask about. It's interesting. It's different. It's not what you would expect from, like, a WoW.
Right.
It's deep.
Yeah.
But it's mainly functioned through context menus and stuff. So it's a different beast altogether.
Yeah, I think that's the problem that I had with a lot of MMOs, is that it kind of has to engage me before I'm at like a few hours, or I'm wondering what the point is, where I have to really understand what I'm doing and where, really feel good with playing the game, that I want to do it long term. And there's very few that really did that for me. I think WoW was the last one, but then it got grindy, and I didn't want to keep grinding, so...
Yeah. At least now the grind is more interesting, since last time you played they didn't have world quests.
No, they did not.
So these are like after you hit the max level and finish the main story. It's like, hey, cool. You're done with like the main story. You want to just do random quests throughout the world for rewards? You can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like it goes, here are daily world quests you can do. Go have fun. And then even if you don't want to do that, there's always dungeons and other side quests and whatever you really want to do, which I think is nice.
Oh, sure.
I'm not a person who just wants to grind all the time unless I just want to grind.
Mm-hmm.
But the world quests, especially if you're like grinding reputation, make it a lot easier. Because like, yes, I want to grind rep with this one faction. Let's see all the quests for this faction. Let's go. Boom, 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 boom.
Sure.
I don't know. I feel like you should give it another shot at some point, just because it's changed so much in the last 16 years.
Right. It's been a while for me. So.
It's been a while. But.
Yeah.
Hey,
you know what? Maybe next year, you know how I said I was going to do those second chances stuff, next year? Maybe on a live stream. Maybe I'll go back in. I'll play a little bit.
There you go.
That would be something.
You can try the Exiles Reach, a new starting area that they did for WoW. It's a tutorial zone.
Oh boy.
It's not great.
No.
It's not great. I mean...
Great.
You probably still remember mostly how to play.
Yeah. Yeah, I get how to play WoW. You just tool around with stuff. Fine.
Yeah, you just tool around with stuff.
Yes.
Anyway, if you followed any of BlizzCon stuff and that we didn't touch on, or if you have hopes and dreams for the future of Warcraft like I do, feel free to add your thoughts to our discussion over on Discord or down in the comments.
Yeah.
This is mostly just me speculating a little bit and talking to you about this, Nathan, because I'm excited and I'm hoping that the future of Warcraft is better.
Sure.
Dragonflight has shown us that the game can be more fun again. The only issue people have had with Dragonflight is that it lacks that bite.
Yeah.
Like, the villains don't feel villainous enough. That there doesn't seem to be stakes here where there should be. But overall, like, the game itself has been more fun. So if we can get the fun with that over-the-top dramatic like feeling of something is in peril,
Oh, sure.
I think Warcraft will be in good shape if they can manage to both threaten the world and make it feel like Warcraft and also keep that fun going. So we'll see what they can do.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta threaten the world or what's going on,
Yeah, as Bellular was saying, because I listen to them sometimes, Warcraft has always been like about the heroes and the big characters and stuff like that, and like dramatic moments and like sacrifice. It's like, if you give us those moments again, those big set pieces that feel really great, that'll be good. That'll be real good.
Yeah, certainly. If you are leaving comments down below, one thing I would kind of like to know is, in terms of the Blizzard properties, are you more Warcraft, StarCraft, or Diablo for the big three? I
was going to say Blackthorn.
Oh, Blackthorn? Yeah. They got to bring back some of those properties too at some point.
No.
They're too invested in Overwatch and those things. Yeah. Oh well. Blackthorn mentioned. Anyway. Let us know in the comments down below how you feel about BlizzCon and what you were excited about on this year's BlizzCon. And was it a blizzard for you? Or were you left out in the cold?
Or was it a con?
Exactly. Blizzard or con. Or both. Alex, we have a lot of other things that we could be talking about right now, but we're not going to do that because I need to talk to you about a game.
Okay.
Sorry. I know you were really excited to talk about a variety of different topics, but...
Yeah, my taxes.
No, I didn't want to talk about taxes. That's a different show. You can... That's H&R Block Knockdown. That's Block Down. Total H&R Blockdown.
Also, don't use H&R Block. This has been financial advice from Alex.
I wanted to talk to you about a game. And the reason I wanted to talk to you about a game is because I started playing it at the beginning of the week, and I can't stop playing it, and I wanted to discuss it. And it's called Wartales. You are probably not familiar with this game at all.
I've heard of it. I think I've seen it come up on Steam a few times, and I have not clicked on it.
Okay. Good. Well, then I get to talk to you a little bit about it and why it kind of surprised me. So, the idea of Wartales is you basically have almost a CRPG kind of setting for this, it's a top-down perspective where you have a crew of adventurers and you're going off on quests, and you're gaining levels, gaining new skills, and all of that. I would say that it's a little bit like if you took maybe like the Baldur's Gate kind of aspects of it, when it's like, a storytelling kind of thing, but more or less, turn-based combat and all of that set in kind of a fantasy world.
So the CRPG?
Like a CRPG, yeah. Meshed with a little bit more of like XCOM in terms of outfitting your troops, having different like lines of skills that go through your levels that you can choose between as tech trees for different classes. It's a little bit like that. But I think what's so interesting about this is that it doesn't really make any allusions to being like the heroes of fate that are going to go and, take on the big bad evil thing, or that it's a fantasy world writ large, although it has some fantasy elements. Basically, the way it starts out is it says, okay, you're going to create an adventure party. There's a host of different kinds of character classes, and there's even a profession that each one of them can take on. So, like, things like thieves, or bards, or woodcutters, miners, stuff like that. You have profession levels, similar to, I guess, like, Final Fantasy X2, or some of the Final Fantasy had jobs that they could take
job
on.
Class.
Yeah. These help your overall stats, but they're also specific so that you can go and mine for stuff, or, do any of those things, fishing, etc. Right. You start with these 4 characters, and they say, yeah, outfit them however you want, and choose their backstory. Who are they? Okay. Like, are they a bunch of students that got together, like scholar students? Did they grow up in a small town together? How do they really know each other? You kind of choose their backstory, how they all originated and everything. And then they basically set you down in this world and say, all right, you are now venturing out into this medieval landscape with a lot of different provinces and everything, and they've all got their individual conflicts that are going on. The first one has to deal with, like, a refugee crisis that's going on, and farmers that aren't sure about, like, what they want to do, and so you have to kind of rectify different things there. But that there isn't really a grand plan for any of you. You have to figure that out. After you do that, though, it kind of opens up to where it becomes very ambiguous as to what kind of characters you want to be. And the reason I say this, the moment I realized that this was something different, was I came across a skirmish that was on the road. And it's these bandits. And the bandits are attacking a trade caravan, right? And I go up to it and it's like, oh, I better see what this is all about. And I go up, and there's a little screen, and they're like showing the conflict that's going on between them. And then they ask me a question. Am I going to help the bandits attack the trade caravan? Or am I going to help the trade caravan fight off the bandits? And they give you, like, a few, like, what the rewards are going to be, and they differ a little bit, but they don't really make a judgment on you about, like, what you want to do.
Okay.
And at that point, I was like, oh, this is very interesting how they're framing this world. That you can steal, and you can get wanted levels, and deal with the incursion of other characters, but you also have the ability to fence some of the gear. There are even rewards for doing so. You could help all of the refugees, or you could help the farmers. You could help the establishment folks, the brotherhood that's out there. Or you could help the people that are trying to take them down. There is no morality associated with it, essentially. They're not saying you're good guys or bad guys by doing any of that.
I'm wondering if you could help the trade caravan fight off the bandits, and then be like, cool, we helped you out. Now you give us some money. Or we'll attack you ourselves.
I got news for you, Alex, is that any trade caravans you come across, you can actually choose to attack them.
Oh.
And take them out. You can attack trade caravans, you can attack the guards that are patrolling the roads if you wanted to. You could steal everything from people.
I feel like you should play this game and sit there and be like, I wonder if I can make our crew just like this notorious band of caravan killers.
Yeah. Well, the options are there. Obviously, there's going to be cause and effect in terms of how everybody views you, because suspicion is going to lead to the guards coming and accosting you and saying you got to turn over your goods, you got to pay for your crimes, you got to do all of this. But if you think you can handle that, you could keep trying to do that. There are mission boards where different characters will ask you for different things, but it does get into that territory where you'll get a mission and you're kind of like, I don't even know what side I'm supposed to be taking in this, or like they don't even necessarily want to make it very clear that it's just like, this is the good side and this is the bad side.
Yeah, this sounds very ambiguous.
It's very ambiguous, and some of those you could see like, well, I can see the point that they're trying to make, or they're trying to make, and it will help advance the story regardless until you get to the end of that story mission, which is what I did for the first region, where I was trying to help the refugees because there was, this militant organization that was trying to keep them out. But the refugees had taken over a small, abandoned fort, and were trying to put up settlements. And so you can kind of understand where, there's people that are frightened, and they don't know if, people are stealing from them. And then at the other hand, there are people that are like the refugees, and they're trying to come in and trying to settle so that they have food, so that they can create settlements too. And that comes to a head where you have to deal with whether you're going to help the regional governor of this area maintain her post, or if you're going to help the refugees, liberate the province, essentially, from that rule. And you can make that choice. It resolves either way, and you'll complete that area and get a bonus for completing the area. But you get to do either one of those. Very, very interesting how it frames it. It's done in sort of real time, but it's turn-based combat, so you get into the arenas if you accost any of the wilderness or anything like that out in the woods. The thing I think is really interesting is you have that team of 4. You start off with this team of 4 and one horse, so that you have more storage space. Throughout the course of the game, though, you get to add more horses if you want, and you can also hire more people, either through taverns, jails. You can free people from jail and have them work for you.
There you go.
Or
your criminal empire starts here.
Exactly. Or, this is cool, if you're fighting animals in the woods, you might have the ability, if you have the right materials, to try capturing animals like boars, wolves, or even bears.
There you go. Bear army.
And tame them. I have a bear.
Nice.
That works for me now. And it's
works.
Great. Yeah, works. He gets fed really well. Also, my bear has the trait of vegetarian, so I have to feed him greens.
Lame.
Here's the thing. So, at first you're thinking, oh, well, I want as big a crew as I possibly can. But in order to hire them, you need to have a certain amount of valor to spend on it, like reputation, and you have to have money. You have to have money.
What about for the animals?
You don't need money to pay them. They don't have a salary. But the animals do consume more food. So you also have to prepare meals when you're at camp.
Gotcha.
As you're going through the world, you get fatigued. And when you need to set up camp because your crew is fatigued, they're going to ask you, what you want to do to feed them and make sure that their needs are met. And so you start to realize that you can have as big a crew as you want. However, you're going to have to pay them, and you're going to have to feed them. And if they're not getting fed and they're not getting paid, there's going to be discontent. They're not going to be happy. You might have ones that leave, or that relationships start breaking down between the different members of the crew. And so you have this balancing act about, like, what do you actually want to do and how big you want this crew to be. And what makes logical sense. But it's that kind of give and take that I really appreciated about it, where you're really thinking logistically about all of these elements. And it's not...
all the tactics that go into a tactics game.
Yeah, the tactics that go into a tactics game, but just even from the logistics standpoint of, oh, I gotta keep food on me. I need, like, a cook so I can cook the food, that it has more nutrition value so that they can do that. That I can set up tents, and that I can set up, different stations so that they're happier, so that they can get more points for special skills when they rest. That I have a lookout tower so they don't get ambushed at night, or it's less likely. All of these things that they kind of put into, like, okay, so you're building a crew and they need to survive, but here's the logistics part of it. And it's not a high fantasy sort of game. You don't have, like, magic, as far as I know, like, but you do have some more mythical creatures that you start to meet. There's, like, ghost animals. There are...
Perfect. I want one of those.
I would like ghost animals too. I have not been able to figure out how you tame them yet. That's a different thing.
Ghost box.
Ghostbusters. I need
there you go.
Yeah, they need an add-on that just lets me have the the Ghostbusters blaster, and then I'll
just don't cross the streams.
Don't cross the streams. I got to make sure that that's like a thing. There are ancient ruins that you can go in, and if you have scholars, you can even find tablets and stuff that you can translate. But there are, creepy critters that are in the temples, and they'll come after you. You need to have torches if you're going to go in. If you run out of torchlight, your entire crew is going to run scared out of the temple and suffer some penalties. They're going to get broken bones. They're going to get fatigued. They're going to get frightened and bump their head. So you got to know about how much light you have. And it's just interesting because a lot of these systems that they put in place about the bonuses you get for completing missions, about the points that you can put into different skill trees, it's not made explicit when you start the game. They don't necessarily even tell you about it. But then they're like, oh, you got a skill point. And then you start to realize, oh, there's a whole range of different things that I can do. There's, like, relationships that happen between the different crew members. And if you accidentally, like, swing wide and hit one of your other crew members, the relationship between them deteriorates. And they don't work as well together afterward. And I was sitting there thinking, like, it's just such an interesting concept of really being able to just take the basic adventure experience and translate it into almost a tabletop sort of game. And the logistics that go into it. It's not necessarily as epic as something like a Baldur's Gate 3, I'm sure, or any of those, but tries to kind of create more of a realistic sort of aspect of what being essentially a mercenary group in this medieval world is going to be like, and what it would take to actually run an army that's going through the landscape. So, real interesting. You even get the ability to eventually build your own, weaponry and armor and stuff like that. Augment it, all of that stuff. Do
you get a base of operations?
Here's the cool thing. So obviously you have like a base camp that's with you, so you can set up for base camp, and you can create new buildings if you have a workbench, so that you can build towers, you can build tents and stuff, and different crew members can get assigned to those if they have the right skills, and it will improve their happiness and everything like that. But additionally, something you can do, and I haven't saved up enough money for it, is that some towns, I've gotten to the second region, so I know that this is possible, will offer you, if you can pay, to put a post in town, which is like a base of operations that you can build out.
Okay.
So like, that's the next thing for me, is to make sure I have enough money so that I can buy that and still make sure to pay my crew. But then that's the next aspect. It seems like every time you're like going around in this game, it's smart like this. Every time you're going through the game and you're going, oh, okay, I understand the basic combat. I get into one little combat. Yeah, okay, cool. All right, it's easy enough to understand how I hit things and, heal myself if I have the ability, or repair my armor or stuff like that. Okay, cool. Oh, now I can actually build armor. Oh, and I've gotten some stuff. Oh, now there are skill points because I've built so many items. You get a point into different skill trees. And then before you know it, after you're like, oh, okay, I think I understand how this game works, before you can get bored, something else happens. And like, enemies you've never seen before ambush you on the side of the road. You get accosted by guards and they say, hey, we know that you stole some stuff. And now you have to mitigate, like, am I going to attack them? Am I going to pay them off? Can I bribe them? What can I do? You run across different, places. There was a wood mill I ran across one time. And there's like a basement in the windmill that's locked by an ornate key. And I need to have this specific key in order to get into it. I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to have to come back to that. Find a key that I can use for it. And the woman who's at this wood mill is like, there's nothing to see here. This is just a perfectly normal wood mill. You unlock the key. And you go down in there. And there's just like 3 people like chained up as like slaves that they've been keeping there the entire time.
Wow.
And of course, being Wartales, you now have options, because if you wanted to, you could take them prisoner. You could even turn them in if you wanted to. Or you do what I do and I say, uh-oh, there are people down here. I better go talk to that lady. Well, she's gone. I go to the outer world, the overworld, and she's there with her mercenaries, and they're like, "Oh, you snuck around in our place. Now, are you gonna like help us? Are you gonna let this go, or are we gonna have to fight for it?" Now I got to make another choice. So I got to fight them off so that I can free the enslaved people, so that I can move on, so that I can rectify this thing. But every single time they like keep presenting you with these scenarios in the overworld that are just really interesting, and they won't tell you about some of it. There's cliff faces that are too steep for you to climb up, and I kept going, oh, that's really annoying, because now I got to do this long loop around, and then I got to come back, until I realized, wait, you can make pitons, like the pitons with the rope and everything. Well, why can I make those? And I right click on them at one point when I'm on near a cliff face. Oh, you can set them down on top of cliff faces so that you can get up and down from mountains once you've explored on the upper part. Like, just these things that you discover.
A Souls-like.
It's like a Souls-like, yeah. You discover this stuff.
Click down the ladder.
But it's like you discover this stuff without realizing it, and go, oh, that's a thing I never knew you could do. So it's this constant sense of discovery, not just in the landscape itself, but of all these mechanics that they put into the game that you didn't even realize you could do in the first place, because they didn't really hold your hand at all at the beginning. And so it's this constant sense of discovery, and by the time you've discovered enough of it, you're like so familiar with the basic systems that you're like, oh, cool, I'm gonna take on these 3 missions, and I've now learned how to negotiate my prices. I'm gonna go off and take care of some bandit camps and make some bank. And now I know I need to make this much money, and oh, now I have to build a post for myself, and I can build an encampment in this town, and on and on and on. So it's a really interesting thing that it does that I haven't seen a lot of other games do, where it can kind of both drip feed you the exploration of the world where you're learning more about it, but also the mechanics of the game itself drip feed itself in without them really telling you about any of it at all. There might be systems in this game I don't even know about, that I haven't even come across yet, and one day I'll be like, huh, I wonder what this is, and just come across it one day. So, yeah, really impressive. Like, the characters, like, from just a, production value, the characters are all voice acted. They're all voice acted. They have music, like actual music scores. The graphics are pretty nice. The maps look like almost like world maps. If you were looking at topographical maps, they look like that. Some technical aspects that are not ideal, like tracking missions and stuff like that. But overall, just really engaging. More so than I really thought when I picked up the game. And very, very happy about it. Better experience than I've had with some of the other recent games that have come out. But I wanted to tell you about that because I thought that the way that they framed the game is just incredibly engaging. I'm now up to, I think 12 people, and I have a bear and a couple horses.
A couple more bears.
I need more bears. They eat so much, though. The problem is you gotta feed them so much.
Yep.
That's the problem. I gotta have, entire banquet meals that I make. It's like level 3 cooking so that I can feed the freaking bear and the horses, So that's the thing. You want to be careful about that. Your resource management is part of it. It's really good in how it presents itself in all of those different aspects. I like the ambiguity of not really telling you, these are the good folks, these are the bad folks. It's gray area all around the game of who you're supposed to be working for. There aren't, big bad guys or really good guys. They've all got problems. And you gotta figure out who you'd rather work for, and as you try to solve the problems of each individual region. But it's not like the big world-ending sort of thing where you have to deal with it. So anyway. Okay, I'm done talking about Wartales. Okay,
cool.
I'm done talking about Wartales. If anyone out there has actually played Wartales, though, let me know in the comments down below. And what did you think of it? And do you like the systems that they put into place? And Alex can tell me at some point if he thinks that sounds like an interesting idea.
It sounds interesting. I might check it out on Steam, put it on a wish list. Who knows?
Put it on a wish list. Yeah, you might be able to figure out if you like it or not before the 2-hour mark. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? Anyway, let us know. Comments down below. Alex, I think we've been fully ramblomatic all our own for enough time here. So if folks would like to hear us ramble about something else, where could they go on the internet?
If you'd like to hear us do anything else, please go to totalpebbлекnockdown.com.
Check us out there. And while you're there, check out our Patreon banner. You can find episodes early over there, as well as some of the additional stuff that we talk about off air. You can also find us on every podcast app known to mankind. Rate, review, and subscribe while you are there. And you can even find us on whatever the social media networks are called these days. I am at Citadium.
I am at EXP Limited, and the show is at Pebble Knockdown.
So check us out there for any and all of your pebbly needs. And with that being said, thank you for joining us on Total Pebble Knockdown, and we will see you at not the movies, but the games. That's, I'm trying to do the Siskel and Ebert thing, but see you at the movies, but it's not movies.
We'll see you in the podcast.
See you in the podcast. We give it 2 thumbs sideways.
Seacrest, dead.
That was last season. Bye, everybody.
Bye.